This is Fantology.
You may have heard of us.
All right, what's up, fantasy book fans? This is Steven, your host at Fantology Podcast. I have my lifelong friends, Ryan, Ben, and Josh. All four of us, actually, four of us, not all four of us. We're missing Jake still, but we do have kind of a special episode this time talking about top 10 lists, double top. And the idea here is we've gone through and grabbed top 10 fantasy book lists from different booktubers. We're just going to quickly go through those, kind of chat about what we, I don't know, agree with, disagree with, just like in general, have we read them? What's new to us? What do we want to read that we haven't, that type of conversation. And then after we chat through four different lists, I guess you as the listener can decide what you agree with the most. Then we're going to switch over to like honorable mention 11 through 20 type books. And in that, I think we'll just kind of leave that as a primer for now. And maybe later on, we'll do a deeper dive into those books because we want to maybe explore more of those series that don't get the light shown on them quite a bit. Like I'm assuming every top 10 list is going to have Lord of the Rings in it, for example. And if you're listening, you have read Lord of the Rings. Like I can guarantee you, the listener, have read Lord of the Rings. So you probably don't really care that everyone else loves it too, because we all know that. But maybe you don't know about things in the 11 through 20 range, which we want to explore more.
Have we all read Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I
Yes,
listened to it, so
hopefully,
I don't know if I
right?
can say I've read
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
All
come on,
right.
listening
Yeah,
and
that
reading,
qualifies.
Like, we're counting.
I don't
things.
know. I was listening to your guys' review of Red Rising, and you definitely gave me a hard time for not picking up as much as I should when I listen to books.
Well,
so
okay. I mean, I still think if you listen, you should pick up on what's being said in the story.
fair. Okay, yeah, but I think overall we're doing this because we want hopefully like you as a listener can find some book that you want to start reading. I know that I started reading a book from this top 10 list that I'm going to be like kind of going over. So hopefully you find a book that you might have heard, you probably have heard of before, but maybe you'll start reading it because of this. And I also think that even though a lot of these might have some crossover, hopefully because we all kind of did this independently, and just kind of chose random booktubers, hopefully we get a little bit of a variety here. So,
Hey, who wants to start?
I'll go for it.
Okay, you got it.
Okay,
Right. Yeah,
so
go for it.
this was from Mike's book review, and Mike's a good guy. We collabed with him quite a few years now ago. I think it was for what book was it? It was
We did some First Law with him.
Some First Law.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think so. We did Peace Talks, and
Was it
we
Peace
talked
Talks?
about it. It was a Dresden. It was was it okay?
No,
Was it First
I
Law?
definitely did First Law with Mike.
Yeah.
You sure?
Well,
Yeah.
we can go back and correct the record here, but
I think you're right. But we talked about Dresden because he had read the new books that were coming out or something.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm wrong, but I'm not
Okay.
100% wrong.
anyway, kind of sad that the First Law didn't make his list, but that's okay. So this is his, I think it came out sometime in June. And this is his all-time top 10 list. So it wasn't like top 10 books of 2022 or whatever. This is his all-time top 10 list. A few of these I'm not gonna have anything to say because I haven't read them and I don't know too much about them. Number 10 on his list was Lonesome Dove. I don't know anything about that, but he raved about it. I guess this is a relatively new book, and so he recommended it to everybody. So Lonesome Dove.
Okay.
Number 9 was Hyperion, kind of a fantasy classic. I have started reading that book a couple of times, but it's, I don't know, the first couple of chapters are hard for me to get into. I know, Ryan, you and Jake reviewed these, didn't you?
Yeah. The Hyperion Cantos. It's a sci-fi classic, not really fantasy.
Oh, sorry.
Did you
Also,
actually review those? Have we reviewed those on the channel or just read?
I think Jake and I did
They reviewed them.
review maybe
Yeah.
the first. I'm not sure if we did both of them or just the first one.
Man, our catalog
I'll-
is so big. I don't even remember what we've done and what we haven't done.
Also, Lonesome Dove came out in 1985, so not
Oh,
exactly
shoot.
new.
Well, everything's new on some type of scale.
Within the last 40 years.
Yeah,
Thanks for
okay.
that fact check, Josh. Appreciate it. Well, Mike had read it recently, so Hyperion, number 7 was Jurassic Park by Michael
Wait, what
Crichton.
was that number 8?
Sorry. Yeah, that was number 8. Jurassic Park. For real, number 7 is To Kill a Mockingbird, which is a great book.
But not fantasy?
No,
These
no,
are just these are
this
just
is
top
just
10
his
books.
top 10 list. Yeah, these might
Oh,
not be
okay.
top 10 fantasy lists. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
yeah, that's I appreciate this list because it does have some it gets into some other books that are definitely not fantasy either. I'm just gonna also comment To Kill a Mockingbird, obviously a great book. If you're looking for another similar, I mean, not very, it's in the same vein, but it's called Just Mercy. There's also an HBO show about it, but it takes so it's a true story about a lawyer that works with inmates on death row, but he works in the same city that To Kill a Mockingbird takes place in. So anyway, there's some cool overlap there. So that's a bonus there. So To Kill a Mockingbird. Next is Ender's Game, classic by Orson Scott Card. I read this book. I think I read it for school, but also not for school as well. Amazing book. We actually just have another friend that's not on Fantology that started reading Ender's Shadow, right?
Speaker for the Dead.
Speaker for the Dead. Ender's Shadow is a.
We're talking about Ender's Shadow, though.
Okay, yeah. So Speaker for the Dead, another amazing book. I think technically wasn't Ender's Game written as a prequel to Speaker?
I think so.
I think it was. Anyway, yeah, Ender's Game is one of those books that hopefully reading it for school doesn't ruin it for you, because it is a great book.
Do people read that in school?
Oh yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it's a part of, at least it was at our school. I remember seeing on lists.
Really?
Steven looks quizzical.
I don't know, man. I feel like maybe that was something you chose as your optional book. That
Okay. I mean, I know it's heavily read. Maybe not like in the after all the drama with Orson Scott Card came out.
I
during
doubt
the movie,
well,
but
sure, but like even back when we were in high school, I doubt there was a whole class that was reading through Ender's Game together. Like maybe you read it as an optional thing and did a report on it or something.
maybe. I don't know. Mike was also saying that like they passed it out apparently in the military as recommended reading. So I don't know. It's definitely a book that reaches a wide audience.
Yeah, no, it's a good book. I just don't think it's like a literary classic you'd see on school lists.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'm gonna go back and grab my junior year book list.
Yeah, let's see that curriculum, man.
I'll text Mr. Adams here. Okay. Next was Gone with the Wind. I guess I don't have too much to say about that one. I haven't read it, but I don't know. I think I've seen the movie, but apparently it's a great love story. Next, Fellowship of the Ring. He kind of made himself choose a single book, not a whole series. So he chose Fellowship of the Ring because it represents the beginnings and kind of just like, I don't know, the overall sense of hominess that is in Fellowship of the Ring.
What number are you up to, by the way? Where is
so
Fellowship?
10, 9, 8, 7. Ender's Game was 6. Gone with the Wind was 5. Fellowship is 4. Storm of Swords from George R.R. Martin. I don't know. I haven't read any of Song of Ice and Fire. Is that the best book in your guys' opinion of that series or no?
If that's
yeah.
book 3, I think it's pretty widely considered to be like the best book.
Yeah, that's what he was saying too.
Dang, outing yourself though. Haven't read the books, but have read Lord of the Rings at least.
I've okay, so this next book, number 2, is It by Stephen King. And this actually, after listening to his top 10 list, it prompted me to start reading it. and I am 2/3 of the way through after starting it last week, and it has gripped me and captivated me.
Wait, you're
And
2/3 of the way through?
Yep. Yeah,
Dude, that's like a 40-hour book, isn't it?
it is. Yeah, I have a
Wait, what?
3 hour.
So,
I have a 3 hour drive every day. So,
sorry, which
Oh,
book?
wow.
It by Stephen King.
Oh wow.
So it is great. You know, so my impression was
Do you drive with your kids to school listening to it?
oh gosh, no,
Lincoln's like traumatized.
they have their iPad that's hooked up to the sound system of the car, and I drive with a single AirPod in. Okay,
Okay.
that's
All right.
how we manage it.
Jeez.
All
That's dark, man.
But yeah, I mean, okay, so I've read a few Stephen King's books. I've read Pet Sematary, 11/23/64, and like half the Dark Tower series. So I'm gonna say that this book strikes me as like a mix between Pet Sematary and 11/23/64. So in the fact that I think it like, so Pet Sematary is very like just like pretty much just straight horror, right? Like there's like some good character work and stuff, but it's very focused on horror. Whereas 11/23/64 is very much focused on like character development. And I think that it is like the best of both worlds. It's very submersive. You start to like really care about this group of kids. It's a great coming of age tale. And again, I haven't made it all the way through. I also haven't made it to the fabled scene that everybody talks about. So I can't give a complete review of it, but I've been very impressed. And I think that
fabled is a bad word.
Okay,
to
maybe
use.
not
Fabled
fabled.
being based off.
Notorious.
Notorious, yeah. It's Fable for me because I haven't read it. I don't know what it is yet. So
Okay.
Okay, that's yeah.
Let's see what adjective Ben uses to describe it after he's read it.
Ben's getting put on some lists right now.
To be clear, so Ben was saying that he was reading it on Discord, and there's some conversation, and people talked about an infamous scene, and Ben doesn't know what it is, and so in his mind he's like, "What is this thing that is like?"
well, it's very much it's
so
like
notorious.
it is a like
I'm trying to defend you, man.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's motivating me to read though, because I want to like get to the scene so I can like
No, you don't. Just skip.
Okay,
You'll
well-
probably end up skipping over it.
okay. Well, anyway, that scene notwithstanding, it's a great book. And I thought that like kind of hearing about it beforehand, I thought it was going to be much more like horror heavy, right? Like it definitely has that scene, like that feel like of scary clowns and stuff. And so that's why I wasn't ever really interested in it. What I'm trying to say is that like the vast majority of this book is focused on like this tight group of people, both as kids and as adults, working through their issues, finding friendship, finding solace in that friendship, overcoming odds. Like that's what the majority of the book is focused on. And yes, there is like this creeping element of horror. But so anyway, anybody that hasn't read that book, I would encourage you to, just because it has a lot of stuff besides the horror aspect going forward.
I actually appreciate you saying that because that's what I always assumed it was, and I never was really interested in reading it because of that. So
Yeah.
I'm
Same
more
way.
intrigued from Ben's description.
It really is a weird book because there are definitely like horror things that stand out. I'm a few years removed from reading it. I think I read it in like 2019 or something. And so like there are horror elements that stand out and like that stick with you. Particularly like something that happens in the first chapter really, sticks with me. But I would say that you also have to like Stephen King just does some of the best character work like of any author, and it really shines in it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there are a few things that haven't aged super well. Like you can tell it was written in the 80s, and
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's
so I don't know if it's for everyone. And I would not probably recommend it as blanketly as you did, because it's not politically correct, you could say. Like there's definitely people
that's definitely true.
Yeah.
And I think that I mean that you could say the same thing with Gone with the Wind as well. Like there's parts of books that haven't aged well at all. And I think that you have to recognize that there are snapshots in time, and the arc of history is always going to sweep towards justice, and we're a lot closer to justice and equality now than they were in the 80s, and even when the book was being written about, like in the 60s and 50s. So I think definitely there's definitely problematic stuff in there. So that's a good disclaimer.
The arc of history is always going to sweep toward justice. I like it.
That's right. Yeah.
Is that a quote from someone?
I think I read it somewhere.
Yeah, that's definitely it's a pretty famous. I'll fact check that while you finish up the list.
Just like Michael Scott created it, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Michael Scott, Wayne Gretzky.
Abraham Lincoln once said, "If you are racist, I will attack you with the North."
Speaking of things that haven't aged well, some episodes of The Office. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Final one, and we can move faster through lists. But final one is Dune.
It's a Martin Luther King joke, guys.
Martin Luther King joke or quote?
Quote, sorry.
Okay. Jeez.
The arc. Okay. The actual quote is, "The arc of moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice."
That's why I'm not Martin Luther King right there, because I can't even quote him in the same elegance that he has. Okay.
There are a few other reasons why, but we won't go quite into this.
Okay. And the final book is Dune, which I've read. I listened to it, and it's probably one of those books that is better read than listened to, because I for sure did not get all the nuance of it. I mean, I recognize it as a great book, but a lot of times with like books that have these more like kind of simple plots that definitely like set the stage for fantasy as a whole, like I can appreciate what they did for the genre without like thinking that they're the best things I've ever read, if that makes sense. But obviously opinions differ there. So
that was well said. I didn't like Dune at all when I read it.
Okay.
I agree.
There you go. Wow.
But
we need Jake on here to
like
defend it.
it obviously was very impactful, like you said, but reading it now, like there are definitely better books.
Yeah, we definitely need Jake on this episode.
Don't say Red Rising. Don't say Red Rising.
Steven's not
said
naming
there's
any
better
books.
I know, but I know you're thinking Red Rising.
No, I was just thinking there's a lot of better books.
All right.
Okay, well, there you go. Mike from Mike's Book Reviews. That's his top 10 list for his favorite ever books. I think there's a lot of gems on there, and yeah.
Right on.
Nice.
Who wants to follow that?
I think we need to break up the twins a little bit, because otherwise people are going to think that Ben's still rambling on.
Okay.
All right, I will go next on that note. The booktuber I listened to or watched was Jared Henderson, who isn't actually like exclusively fantasy. Looks like he kind of does a lot of different things like philosophy or just like different books in general, but this list is exclusively fantasy books, his top. And he starts off with number 10 as the Cosmere, just as a whole. And his review is interesting because although this is like in his top 10 best books of fantasy, he was kind of like seemed a little iffy on Sanderson as a whole. Like I felt like he talked about a lot more Sanderson's cons, which I think is pretty common for people to do. It's like, I like Brandon Sanderson, but he doesn't have the best prose or X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And I think it's kind of like popular, and we've talked a lot about that. So I won't go.
That's annoying. It's like you're virtue signaling by saying that you're more cultured than I don't know. It's like qualifying that your favorite movie is Endgame, because Marvel is.
Well, I mean, at the same time, there are cons with Sanderson, and like it's fair to acknowledge them if that's how you feel.
Yeah, for sure. There's very few authors that you always feel the need to qualify when you say they're my favorite author.
Yeah.
It is funny because if you're talking to somebody that doesn't read fantasy books, and you like, the first thing you're going to recommend is usually Sanderson to get them into fantasy. But then if you are talking to people that like fantasy books, you have to like bring up the cons list of Sanderson. You know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's one of those things.
It's like that meme of Winnie the Pooh, right? Like right now we're like the second one where he's like dressed up in a tuxedo, like smoking a cigar, you know.
With the monocle.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of these books that I actually have not read in his list. Let's see, books 9 through 3 on his list I have not read. So I won't have much to say about them. But I like the fact that, you know, he has like different taste, or, you know, he's just different catalog of books that he's read. So book or I guess series, this is more series, it's not necessarily exclusive to one book, is his Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, which is pretty popular. I mean, it was adapted into a TV show by HBO, I think. And
Yeah,
I've,
pretty
is it
good
Prime?
TV show.
is it
No.
still going, or is the TV show?
It's
It's
concluded. It's
HBO,
on
and it's
HBO.
done.
Yeah.
It's on HBO. It's done,
Mhm.
completed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Josh
So
and I reviewed the books, and one of the seasons of the show, we kind of fell off on the show reviews, but yeah, it's a good series.
okay. Yeah. So 8 is going to be Earthsea, Wizard of Earthsea, and I didn't realize this was a trilogy. A Wizard of Earthsea is the first book in a trilogy, and
Is it a trilogy or more than? I actually don't know. I know there's at least 3. There might be more. Does it say trilogy?
Okay. I would need to look it up. When he showed it, he was talking about 3 different books. Like Wizard of Earthsea was the first.
It could
of
be.
3
I'm just not sure, because I
books
think
that
I've
he's
seen like,
talking about.
because this is on my list as Earthsea Cycle,
Okay.
and I've
Yeah.
also read the first book, which I thought was good, but again,
Mhm.
like one of those kind of formative books that
Yeah.
nowadays I don't think is as good.
It's like it's so different when we read so much modern fantasy to like read something written in, you know, the 60s or the 50s, or it's very, very different. Like different types of stories and characters and resolutions. So some of that is like so different. Like it might be like an acquired taste almost to like we're so used to reading.
I mean, modern authors have an advantage on older authors in that they know like what's popular right now and what people are reading. And
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said for books that hold up over the years that continue to
Mhm.
like withstand time. That is pretty cool.
So let's see, 7 on his list, which might be the oldest book out of any of our lists, is Beowulf, which I read in high school and was not the biggest fan of. And I also saw the movie with Angelina Jolie, and
You're a much
You're a fan?
bigger fan.
it was
Come on,
visually
Ryan.
more appealing. And so
Who was the male lead actor in that movie, Ryan?
Anthony Hopkins was in it.
Okay.
I think Anthony Hopkins played the older version of Beowulf. So and the next one is a book that I haven't heard of. It's Tigana by Guy Gavriel Kay. Written in the 1990s. So a little bit before our combined, I mean, I guess it's around the beginnings of the Wheel of Time, or so.
Yeah.
But still maybe a little bit. I don't think we've read too many books from the early 90s.
I don't think have any of us read any Guy Gavriel Kay? I know
I have not.
pretty popular author,
Yeah.
but yeah. And I think like a really, really polished like prose and just really good author too that we haven't read.
I think one
Yeah.
of the cons of having like, you know, this tight-knit group of friends is that we all read books like that each other reads. So like if one of us hasn't ventured in a direction and like recommends it, then it's hard for us to like to get out of, you know, our current little zone,
Yeah,
get
I
out of the
definitely agree with that.
box. And so there's like a lot of really good authors like like Guy Gabrielle Kay, Ursula Le Guin. She wrote Wizard of Earthsea, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you've read that, Stephen. Um, The Once and Future King by T.H. White, which I think is a little bit more of a modern retelling of Arthurian legends, which sounds intriguing. I've heard good things about it. So that's something that is interesting to me. The next one, I guess I'm on 4. His number 4 pick is Piranesi, and this came out in 2020. And I didn't really know anything about it. So I looked it up, and it has a very interesting summary. This is Piranesi's house is no ordinary building. Its rooms are infinite, its corridors endless, its walls are lined with thousands upon thousands of statues, each one different from all the others. Within the labyrinth of halls, an ocean is imprisoned, waves thunder up staircases, rooms are flooded in an instant. But Piranesi is not afraid. He understands the tides as he understands the patterns of the labyrinth itself. He lives to explore the house. So, I mean, that sounds pretty interesting. It's only 245 pages, so it's not epic fantasy by any means. So definitely something. This is by Susanna Clark, I should say. So that intrigued me. It wouldn't necessarily be a longer read. Might be something I'll check out. Number 3 is Discworld, of course, by Terry Pratchett, which is something none of us. Ben, did you start Discworld recently?
I read like half the first book, and
Okay.
I really like it. It's yeah, I mean, I'm gonna read it.
I mean,
there's just other things that can catch my attention.
lots of Terry Pratchett is popular. I mean, kind of known for his sense of humor, right? He's
Yeah.
got a lot of good humor, and he just passed away within the last couple of years. So
Mhm.
I think
onto-
that
Yeah,
also I think
again-
Sanderson lists that as one of his all-time favorite series.
Okay, Discworld. All right. Number 2 on the list, of course, is The Lord of the Rings by J.K. Rowling. I don't think by
Really?
J.K.
Really, J.K. Rowling wrote Lord of the Rings. You
Oh,
heard
no,
it here
right.
first.
All
He
right.
just got canceled.
Let's try that. Lord of the Rings by George R.R. Martin. Brandon Sanderson. All right, let me redo that. Okay, everybody in your mind, rewind. We're not gonna cut it, we're just gonna all rewind.
I haven't decided if we're actually going to cut that or we're leaving it because it is funny.
Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I don't
There we
think
go.
much needs to be said that hasn't already been said. It's formative, popular, it holds up well. But so much fantasy is inspired by it. I mean, it's hard to find fantasy that isn't inspired by it in some way. And number 1 on his list was Wheel of Time, which was I thought it was interesting because he has so many such a diversity of picks that I haven't read or that I wouldn't even consider for my list. That like Wheel of Time is such like a traditional
Yeah, it's like he
top
bookends
fantasy
it with
pick.
like Stormlight and Wheel of Time is like the
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I
that's
guess Lord of the
interesting.
Rings and Discworld are both popular as well.
That's true.
But there's a lot of other books. So I was intrigued by his list, and yeah, I'm excited to hear what you guys have.
Hey, Josh, let's hear yours.
Okay. All right. So I did kind of a giant in the space, Murphy Napier, I think is how you say her last name. And she in her video goes from number 1 to number 10. So I think out of respect to that, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to start with her favorite series and go down to her number 10. Fair enough.
Respect the order. Yeah.
Respect the order. And to be clear, she put out like 2 top 10s. She put down my top 10 fantasy series updated. She put that out July 2022. And then she put out another one more recently that was like
the 10 best written fantasy books of all time. But so these are her favorite, not I think like, but not the best written. Anyway. And these are fantasy series. There's some non-books in here, which will be interesting to talk about, because I think that's something we've been kind of sleeping on. Okay. Number one series is Gentleman Bastard series.
Dang,
So
that is
she likes
bold.
those.
Yeah, she's a big Gentleman Bastards advocate.
They're not finished though, right?
No.
Well, but the first three they're pretty good. If there's no more books, they're not finished. But if there's no more books that come out, it's a much better situation than like what The Name of the Wind is in.
Sure.
There's things that you want to see how they play out, but it's not, you will have these answers, I'm going to give them to you, and then you just like, if we don't get a third book, we're just never getting those answers. It's like, yeah, I think there's a pretty big difference.
That's fair. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read the first. I think I read the first two. And they're really
There's
good.
3 that are out. So
Yeah.
Three's out, and the third one wraps up a lot of storylines and introduces the potential for a lot more storylines.
You didn't read the third one where the plot kind of revolves around an election.
No,
No.
I read the pirate one.
It's a really good book. They're all really, really good books.
Yeah,
I thought the pirate one was not as good, but the third one was really good.
Yeah. Third one was phenomenal.
I didn't like the pirate one because of how it started. It had like
me
this.
too. Yeah, I completely agree.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big.
It was a
swing and miss.
DNF for me for like years until I went back and reread it. So
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. So Gentleman Bastard series, number 1 for her. Number 2 is One Piece. And so I think with the movie coming, or the show coming out on Netflix, I think I do want to try and watch like the first season of the show. I don't know the best way to read the manga, if they have it on like our library apps and stuff. I don't know, but I kind of want to try getting into that in some way.
Doesn't Daniel Green love those too?
Yeah, Daniel Green loves them too.
it's pretty popular right now.
I was gonna say it's very easy for booktubers to love those because it taps into a new market of viewers. Which
That's fair.
Yeah, they do big.
I'm sure
views.
that they're also very good.
Yeah. So Gentleman Bastards, One Piece. Number 3, Lord of the Rings, which, yep, not much to say about that besides that it's not written by J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Who would think that?
Number
Who
4,
would say that?
Number 4, The First Law. Is this the first time that The First Law has been dropped on this?
Yeah.
Wow, that First Law is like so obvious, and like I think a top 10 series. I'm surprised that we made through 2 top 10 series without First Law. It's so good. I actually just recommended it to a coworker who had was a fan of Sanderson and was a fan of George R.R. Martin. I'd read all the
Yeah, if you're
Okay.
a fan of
books.
those two, then you can handle
And
it.
then she's like, I need to figure out something to read. I'm like, well, have you tried The First Law? She's like, she had never heard of it, never heard anything about it.
Sanderson alone, I was a little questioning your
No,
review,
yeah, but
then,
she liked she didn't like the TV show as much, and I made her try and start House of the Dragon, and she only made like 3 episodes. So she's kind of all over the place in terms of her taste, but she
we'll see.
yeah.
Follow up with how that went.
Yeah, hopefully she okay. So First Law, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stormlight Archive / Mistborn is how she has it listed. Not sure why she didn't just say the Cosmere, but she has
I know between those two, you're like covered 3/4 of it.
Yeah. So anyway, not much more to say about that. Number 6 is Avatar: The Last Airbender, which this one really isn't, much written. I know that there are some like supplemental comics and stuff you can read that go a little bit deeper into like some of the characters' backstories and stuff. But yeah, this one's pretty much just a TV show.
So this is just like fantasy as a genre.
Yeah, this is just my top 10 fantasy series.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, the Ember
We'll have
Blade.
to see what these reviewers say about the One Piece and Avatar shows that are coming out. They're both on Netflix, right? And like they're coming out in the next year or so.
Mhm.
I have a feeling people aren't gonna like the Netflix adaptations.
So have you followed at all the Avatar stuff on Netflix?
Just seen that like people think that it looks silly or what?
Yeah. So the TLDR is that the creators were initially like
Oh
very
yeah,
gung-ho
yeah.
about the
I do
Netflix
remember that,
series, but then there are creative differences, and the creators left the Netflix and are
You really don't
developing
want
their-
creative differences with the creator of the IP.
Yeah, true. But I'm still like, oh, I'm still gonna like judge it by its own merits,
Yeah.
And then they're going out and doing their own. I think they're back to animated. I don't want to. Anyway,
I
the
think they're
creators
doing
started
another Avatar series.
Yeah, but I think that they started their whole like studio, like they have like an Avatar like studios that they're like producing it through.
Oh,
So that it's
dang.
like not.
So not only did they leave, but that motivated them enough to start their
I
new
don't.
branch
This is. It's been a while since I've read up on this, so people should fact check me, or we can post corrections in the comments or in Discord. Then we have the Ember Blade, and has anybody read that? I haven't really heard about that.
I've never heard of it.
I wonder
Yeah,
what the
let me
names of the
look.
books are. Maybe I'd recognize it if I had the names of the books.
I think it's just a book. It looks like it's a single book.
Oh,
By Chris Wooding.
Yeah. I
Haven't
think that
heard of
this
it.
is going to
Okay.
be automatically on my TBR. Dang, it has 4.2 on Goodreads, 9.6 out of 10 on Fantasy Book Review, 5 out of 5 on Barnes Noble, 96% of users liked it on Google. And
I mean,
Murphy,
the last three reviews, the 4.2 on Goodreads isn't anything special, but the last three are good.
yeah. Well, I don't really know those.
Is it
I
a
don't know.
completed series?
I think it's just a book. No,
It
the
says
Darkwater,
the Darkwater
Legacy.
Legacy #1.
Yeah. Book 1 of 2.
It's
The
a
Ember
duology.
Blade and the Shadow Casket.
Okay.
It looks
Cool
like
names.
it looks like they're both out. No, February 27th, 2024 for number 2.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, I think
All
that
right.
this is going on and that's what it says on Amazon, so it could just be one of those Amazon, but that's for the paperback. I don't know. We need to obviously do more research about this series, but honestly, it's going on my TBR. Okay.
There you go. Murphy has a lot of sway over Josh's TBR.
I don't know. I mean, yeah. The Bone Shard Daughter. That's another one where I don't really know anything about. Do you guys know anything about that one?
No.
I think I've at least heard of that, but I don't know any details.
This is like making me
Another
insecure about
another
my fantasy
automatic
book
TBR,
knowledge.
Josh.
Yeah.
Probably. Bone Shard Daughter is the first book in the Drowning Empire fantasy trilogy by Andrea Stewart. It's her debut novel, first published in 2020. Honestly, I think that these are both going on my TBR. Because that's what I wanted to do from this like little series, is get more, books I'm excited about on my TBR.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you guys actually have like a TBR list? Like written
No.
someplace?
In my
Not
head.
written. It's it's still in my head too.
It's normally
Yeah,
whenever
me
we
too.
like have our little what books are we gonna read for Fantology? That's my TBR.
Yeah, when Josh says that's going on my TBR list, I'm like, oh, Josh must be like writing this down. Like,
Yeah, not really, but I mean, we talk about it, like currently my TBR is finish up Waybound, which I still am about halfway through, finish up Alex Verus series. And then in October, I decided to read some Cormac McCarthy books. And so that's basically the extent of my TBR. So I do have like a pretty good, idea of what I'm going to be reading in the coming months.
yeah.
But yeah.
You're speaking it into existence. I think
Yeah.
that works.
Yep. Next one is Hunter x Hunter. I don't know if it's like Hunter by Hunter. It's another manga series. So yeah, that's another one. I have heard more about that, and I'm excited to. I'm for sure gonna do One Piece first. Because I think One Piece seems to be like the flagship series that everybody seems to be obsessed with. And then so yeah. And then number 10 is Malazan. Or Malazan, if I'm Steven. So
No. If you're Steven Erickson, that's how he says it.
So yeah, there is the top 10. And so yeah, I got those two good ones. The Ember Blade and the Bone Shard Daughter are definitely going on at TBR. I want to try and find a good way to read manga, and figure out if watching the series or reading the books are the best way to do that.
Nice. Okay, so mine is probably the most traditional from the ones that have been selected so far. So this is from Captured in Words, who's a cool booktuber. And going from 10 down to 1. So number 10 is Percy Jackson, which may be more of a formative series. But I read a lot of those books, not all of them.
I loved them in high school.
Kind of aged out. I read at least the first like 6 or 7, but I'd never finished the second set of 5.
I didn't read any of the second set. I just read the first set, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I loved mythology when I was younger, so it was like an easy read for sure. And they're remaking. That's another one they're making a show of that has had some, like every remake has controversy around it. People are never satisfied with remakes or whatever. Okay, number 9, Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, and I assume that we're talking like all of Realm of the Elderlings here, or at least the Fitz and the Fool books, which is a series that I've read all 16 books. And I really do like this series, and I don't think it gets enough attention. So I'm glad to see it show up on this list.
Very nice.
Enough.
I think it does. I think it gets enough attention. People speak very lovingly of Robin Hobb.
I don't know. It didn't show up on any of your lists.
Well, I mean, a lot of books don't show up on top 10 lists, but
that's what we're trying to get at. I am kind of surprised that Assassin's Apprentice has been not on any of these lists.
Yeah.
Have you read any of any Robin Hobb?
Yeah, I've read the Assassin's Apprentice, like that trilogy. I mean, way back, like in
they're
college.
older. They're older books. Like the most recent, the capstone to the series came out like 6 or 7 years ago. I want to say somewhere around there. Don't check me on that. Well, okay, do check me on that. But yeah. So and I don't know if she's still writing or not, to be honest.
But she seems like she's kind of older now.
Yeah, she does have a pen name. Anyway,
Robin Hobb is her pen name.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's her pen name, but she does write under, I believe, her real name. Yeah, she writes under her actual name as well. So maybe she's writing more under that name. I do not know. But I'd be interested in finding out. So let me know if you know, listener.
I had a hard time with the ending of that trilogy. But we don't have to get into that.
Sure. Yeah. There's more to the story as well.
Okay.
But yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. Next one was Earthsea Cycle, which we already talked about in Ryan's. And after that, another one I was happy to see show up was Senlin Ascends, the Books of Babel.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Series.
Yeah.
And Josiah Bancroft has a new book out that I think Josh already started.
It's not out yet, but I am reading it, and
right.
It is a delight to read. I've really been enjoying it. So
yeah,
I love his sense of humor.
Yeah,
it's if you like the sense of, he leans into the sense of humor so much in this book. Like every sentence is like a turn of phrase or something witty. Maybe not every sentence, but like every paragraph. I don't know. It's just there's constant times when I'm like, oh, that was so funny. Okay. We talked about me. Sorry, Stephen, for interrupting your series. Your thoughts. But we talked about like me writing these, like my book in our last episode. And I don't think I'm doing like a super amazing job at it or whatever. Like there's a lot of authors I read that I'm like, I could probably, if I write enough, like write at least like put the words on the paper in a similar manner that like these authors do, kind of like Brandon Sanderson.
Like you could write a paragraph in the same quality, like
right.
It's not that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, they have tons of like after you go through all the editing. Like I have confidence that I could even like eventually do that. Josiah Bancroft is like one of those authors where it's so far above my ability to do that. It's kind of like Neil Gaiman. Like there's just no way I could ever see myself writing like with the level of wit and cleverness that they write with. It's just
even like
so
Joe Abercrombie.
Great.
I feel like he's kind of at that level too. Yeah, I agree. And anyway, I guess we've interviewed Josiah on here before, so if you're interested in kind of his background, you can go back and find that. But just briefly, wasn't he like a poetry teacher at like a community college or
literature,
something?
I think.
Yeah, and I think he was a poet, right? Before he, like, I think he was trying to
He wrote
publish.
poetry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
You
So I
guys
think
have a
that-
much better memory than I do for the episodes.
Stephen can rattle off the New Girl series that Nick was writing, but
Well,
That's because I was just watching the show.
Steven was probably on most of the episodes, so he has a lot more to remember.
That's the
right.
reason why.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you,
the reason.
Ryan. Yeah.
But yeah, I think to that point of like, I imagine that's definitely in his wheelhouse.
I guess it's just like I'm reading the book and I'll like pause and I'm like, that is, I just love how you said that. I would have never been able to say that as well as you said that. Anyway, all right.
That's it.
Go
That's
first.
getting going on my TBR now. I got to read that.
It comes out in like September or something. But yeah.
Yeah. We'll try to get a review up. I mean, we will get a
Maybe we
review up
can
before that comes
Interview
out.
Josiah again.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, I don't know how we want to approach like second interviews with authors. Like, did they love it enough the first time where they want to be on again, or did they want to like do other shows?
Dude,
I have no
everybody
idea.
loves us. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Yes, definitely. Okay, offline for that one. Next, Discworld, which we already talked about, and after that, First Law, also already mentioned, but +1 for both those. Discworld, I want to read eventually. First Law, I have read twice, so definitely love that one. Next up, Name of the Wind, which we've talked about in kind of a more negative manner. In the usual negative manner, I'll say, but the books themselves are really good, and this does say Name of the Wind, not King Killer, so maybe it's
It's
just
interesting
book.
that this is the first time it's been mentioned.
Yeah.
Wait,
I
what
think it is-
number was it on the list?
Number 4.
Okay, so pretty high.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of another one of those things, kind of like Sanderson, where everybody does have an opinion on like it as not its
Yeah.
own like set of works, but like how it fits in the larger fantasy narrative in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
Which
point.
also tells you like how high quality it is that everyone has bothered to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
And if I was going
And-
to do my list, it would be up there.
Same
Yeah,
same
if you're
coworker,
just
like,
looking for a single book to read, and like you don't care if you get like a whole trilogy out of it, then for sure you should read this book.
it was funny. That same coworker I recommended the First Law to. She really liked Name of the Wind. She didn't really like Doors of Stone. Had no idea that the third
Well,
one hadn't.
she hasn't
come
read
out.
Doors of
She's-
Stone.
sorry,
hopefully.
Or
Sorry.
has she?
Didn't love Wise Man's Fear. Had no idea.
Doors
that
of
the
Stone
third
by
one-
J.K. Rowling.
At least it would come out, okay?
It would have a movie
get
made
it.
of it too.
Yeah.
And she had no idea the like larger like drama that was surrounding. So I filled her in. That was a fun conversation. Anyway, all right. Sorry. Yeah.
Hey, Patrick Rothfuss does have a novella coming out. That like there's some news, but I don't know how excited anyone is about it. So yeah.
We're all gonna read it. Let's be honest.
I'm gonna read it, but like
honestly,
I've already read the novella because it's just an expansion of the story he's already published. I don't think too many people are super excited about it, but at least it's like maybe a sign that things are in the going in
we're
the
not
right
saying
direction.
that. We're not saying that. We're not saying that.
I mean, he's putting words. Okay, anyway, different conversation, but yeah, that's happening. Number 3 is Wheel of Time, which I think you probably already know is an awesome series. Number 2, Stormlight Archive, which again already mentioned, and number 1 is Lord of the Rings. So this is a little more traditional list, but we got some interesting conversation there, especially around Senlin. Nice.
Oh yeah, there you go. He and this was what was the YouTube channel again?
Captured in Words.
Capturing Words. Yeah, he seems like he would be a great Fantology member, because that is probably, if we were to assemble a list, like I think we would have a lot
Yeah,
of the same
yeah, it
things
does
in
kind of
Fantology.
align with a lot of the books that we've read, obviously.
Yeah, he seems like he would be a Fantology member just from listening to him talk. He
He's
has a lot
the
of the same takes we
Australian
have.
one, right?
No,
Oh man,
he
I gotta get
he makes a lot
more
of
into booktube.
he started by, I think, how I got on his channel was he would do lore videos based on the Name of the Wind, was kind of what got him going, I feel like. And then he has pretty cool animations and a cool editing style that he uses for his videos.
Yeah, it's high quality stuff.
Yeah.
He has some honorable mentions as well, which are books that almost all books we've read. He has Kings of the Wild, Lies of Locke Lamora, Dragonbone Chair, which is Tad Williams' Memory, Sorrow and Thorn, Mistborn, and Broken Earth. And I've read all of those except for Broken Earth, which I've tried to bounce off of, but want to try again one day. But Ryan's read them.
I have read them, and I wasn't quite as I guess enticed by them as other people. I might
But
not
yeah,
get them.
another really popular series. Yeah, but yeah, maybe a little more like up and down for different people.
Okay, so can I go through some stuff that I'm surprised we didn't hear? Maybe that's how we can
Of
do it.
course, Josh.
Is this
So
the worst of the best?
No. Well, so I'm surprised that nobody.
No. We're not doing worse the best for entire series, hopefully.
So I'm kind of surprised that Broken Empire didn't get on here at all. Which Mark Lawrence, not even just Broken Empire, but like nothing by Mark Lawrence.
Yeah.
Kind of surprised by that. Kind of surprised Dark Tower didn't get talked about at all. We talked about it, so we did have a Stephen King in here, but like, only one Stephen King reference is kind of surprising to me. Let's see. I was just kind of jotting some notes down. Lacanius, I don't know. I guess I'm not that surprised by that, but that would probably be on my top 10.
Would it be your top 10, or would that be like an 11 through 20?
Yeah, that would probably be like really close. I think honestly for me, it would be my top 10, just my personal reading journey. I really liked it, and it got me back into reading. It sucked me in. So probably for me, it would be in my top 10. Yeah. What about you guys? Any that
I would probably consider it in my top 10.
Oh, another one, Neil Gaiman. I'm surprised that we didn't see any Neil Gaiman on the list. Like he has some pretty,
maybe because
fantasy
these were
books.
I know there were some entries that were just books, but like when you're saying top 10, usually people are a little more geared towards series just because there's more entries. And I don't think Neil Gaiman doesn't have any actual fantasy series, does he? Just individual books?
It's a good question.
I think he's writing a
The
sequel to
Sandman.
Good.
Well, there's a season 2. Let me look. And yeah.
Didn't he just announce he was writing a sequel to like one of his series?
I don't know. Maybe I should not have opened that can of worms because I don't think we've really covered Neil Gaiman very much.
There's 2 in American Gods.
Are there
European
2?
Gods.
Well, there's the first one is called American Gods, and the second one is Anansi Gods, or I'm sorry, Anansi Boys.
Yeah, I don't think. That might be the only one.
So some other ones that I'm surprised weren't mentioned, like Dresden Files as a series.
Oh yeah,
I'm surprised wasn't. I mean, that might be 11 through 20 for me as well.
It'd be on my top 10 personally, but yeah,
be on your top 10. I think Red Rising would, I think, be on a lot of people's top 10, and that wasn't listed.
Not Josh's.
Not Josh's. He didn't. He has a faulty opinion because he refused to read past the first few chapters.
No, I read the whole. I read the whole. Wait, no, I read the whole first book.
You read the whole first book? Oh man.
Yeah, I read the whole first book.
Makes you even worse opinion. Let's see. I'm surprised that my top 10 list was the only one with the Game of Thrones book on there. I know
That's
that
true.
people are soured on it because there's no ending.
Same reasons, yeah.
I mean, Name of the Wind made it on. I'm surprised nobody listed Harry Potter. I mean, you know,
that's true. Percy Jackson was on there, and his Dark Materials.
Yeah, I mean, I might go back to everything with J.K. Rowling. But I mean,
yeah, Harry Potter would probably be on my list.
Yeah. So those were the ones that I was surprised didn't make it on there. any other honorable mentions that you guys can think of?
I'm gonna put Brian McClone's books on that. Well, I don't know if I would say those would be in my top 10, but like for 11 through 20, I'd probably consider Powder Mage.
Yes, same thing with what's his face. The book we just reviewed, Stephen, that we didn't like
Lightbringer?
very much.
Or Brent Weeks?
Yeah, Brent Weeks, both Lightbringer and
Oh, Night Angel.
Night Angel.
Yeah. I feel like Lightbringer is gonna be higher rated, so probably some people have that on their top 10s, or I feel like that's a pretty fair book to put in 11 through 20, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one that I was pretty surprised about, that I've only read the first book in, but is like the Jade City. Those books, those seem to get pretty high acclaim. But yeah, we haven't even brought them up yet.
Yeah. And
I
we're
did enjoy
actually
the first book.
gonna read those next month in the Fantology book club. So
The
if
first
you
book,
want,
right?
yeah, the first book. We'll start with the first book in the book club. TBD if we will continue the actual formal book club, or if from there people can choose. Usually we just kind of do like individual books and series, and people can read more on their own if they like. So we can offer more variety in the club. But yeah, if you want to join that or just chat with us, then our Discord is always open.
Yeah. Well, again, I love that this episode added a few books to our TBRs, so hopefully it did the same for you guys too, because I think that's everybody's goal here. And I'm sorry if there's a favorite, like if there's like your top book that you've ever read didn't make any of these lists, then you should write it in the chat, because that means that 4 of the most popular booktubers did not have it on there.
I mean, 5
Rebecca
of the
Wong
most
is-
popular.
Yeah, five of the most popular booktubers, Ben.
Well, we
We
did
did
put our
provide
top
our
10.
own lists. Really, I guess we
Yeah.
did talk about which ones
We-
were
yeah,
surprised.
You're right.
Yeah,
Right.
but we didn't sit down and make a list. If Fantology made a top 10 list, it would be for sure the best literature out there.
Also,
That's a Fantology promise.
Rebecca Kwong. I'm surprised that no.
Oh yeah,
Big shout outs to Rebecca Kwong.
yeah.
Poppy
Poppy
War.
War. That Poppy War might be on my top 10.
Codex Alira.
Nah,
All
Ryan, we need to finish reading those books.
I finished rereading them, Ben.
Guess what Ben's opinion is?
I reread the whole series.
No,
You betrayed him.
I finished the second book, I think. Yeah, I for sure finished the second one. All right, well, that one's getting back on my TBR.
But yeah, if to follow up on Ben's comment, if there are some books that you like, then yeah, definitely drop them in the chat or hop on Discord. Let us know. A lot of the TBRs that we speak into existence come from those types of comments. Exactly. And I mean, it's tough. Like there's obviously a ton to read. So am I going to read my whole TBR? Probably in my lifetime, no, but it's nice to get more recommendations
Interesting
and
thought.
know what's out there. And yeah, but realistically, I'm not.
Have to be realistic about these things.
Yeah, gotta be realistic. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Josh, it seemed like you were about to jump in with
I was trying to tie it back earlier to misquoting people, but I didn't have anything off the top of my head.
Yeah.
another J.K. Rowling work there. All right, thanks for watching. See you later.
So, guys.
Bye.